Welcome. We made it. It works. I can record. I'm sitting here with Martin Zoller, which I found over the YouTube channels, Mystica TV especially, and I got really intrigued. We come from the same city. We are actually grew up next doors, a few kilometers apart. And Martin, you're a psychic, a seer. You've been around the world, a lot in the South Americas, and now in the end of 2020, you came up with a new book on intuition. And my podcast is generally around creativity, innovation, and also a little bit lately, spirituality and mysticism. So welcome to the show.
Oliver, hi, grüezi. Thank you very much. Nice for having me. And of course, also warm greetings to your audience.
Thank you. I normally start introducing the host with some different questions. And let's start. 3 things you would describe yourself, your strength.
Well, I would say, first of all, very, very intuitive, which is also my gift or talent. That's why for 25 years and even more, I'm working, living my let's say life mission, working with the power of my intuition. So definitely one of my strengths is my intuition. And I think another one, patience as well, because if you work with different people from different cultures, different ages, different social background, and if you're traveling a lot, as I do, you need a lot of patience because things are not always going exactly the way you think it should go or it should be. And the third one, I think I'm quite adaptable. When I'm getting to a new place or work in a new country or live in a new country, it's normally not so difficult for me to adapt to the new culture, to the new food and to the people. I have been living in Central Asia, in the Middle East. I was working in Africa, in the Far East. I lived for like more than 20 years in South and Central America, of course, in Europe and the US. So because of that, I realized that if you want to have a good life and if you want to be successful in what you do, you need to be able to adapt yourself, especially to different languages and cultures. So I think this also became one of my strengths.
Wow. Now there's a ton of questions just because of that intro. How many languages do you speak?
Schweizerdeutsch, High German, French, English, Spanish, and I spoke pretty good Portuguese because I was working and living in Brazil. This is like now around 15 years ago, and I understand it. I don't speak it so much, and I lived in the Middle East, in Lebanon and in Israel, so I don't speak, but I understand a couple of words in Arabic and in Hebrew.
Okay, yeah, especially because you said Africa and China, Middle East. I was like, okay, how do you go through the life there? I know what you were born in Paris, so you probably grew up with French as a child.
No, my father was working in Paris when I grew up. We lived there only the first year or so, a little bit less than the first year. So I was there only a baby. And already my first birthday, I think we celebrated back in Switzerland. French I learned, of course, in school. And then when I traveled around and when I lived in Beirut is French speaking, or at least parts of Beirut are French speaking because the Lebanon was a French colony. So I lived in a Francophone neighborhood, and this was interesting because you're in the middle of let's say you're in the Middle East, in the middle of Beirut, and you feel like in Marseille or Paris almost, because you enter a restaurant and people talk to you in French, and in the street they speak in French. So you don't have this feeling of being in the Middle East. And this is also why actually Lebanon was called the Paris of the Middle East before the big civil war started, end of the 70s and 80s.
Okay, yeah, my wife is Romanian, so Bucharest also tried to copy Paris. So it's that was also connected there. Wow. Another thing, I had a lot of talks lately. When you speak a different language, are you, for me personally, I have the feeling I'm a bit different as a person. I can see that with French. I studied in Lausanne, with Danish as well, English or Swiss German. I feel like, I don't know, I feel different.
It's funny that you say that, because the same I observed about myself as well. Speaking French or Spanish or English or Swiss, I'm not. It feels different sometimes, and the identification is not always the same. And what I realized for me, for example, when I speak Latin languages such as French or Spanish, it's much easier to get in an emotional vocabulary rather than with German, for example, because the Germans are not very emotional. It's more like intellectual and ja und nein und überhaupt. So it's not so yes and no. So it's not so an emotional language. And I realized that when I talk, for example, it's much easier for me to be strict and tough with German or Swiss German than with Spanish. But I guess this also has to do with the culture, because if you're in South America, everything is more like relaxed and easygoing and mañana. So toughness is not necessarily, especially in daily life, something which is too integrated in culture. Everything is more easygoing. So I think, yes, but yes, you're right. It's interesting to observe yourself, how you behave in those different languages and how you feel different. And what I also realized when I'm a couple of weeks, or let's say after 1-2 months in a country in which I speak the language good, I also, the dreams start to adopt those languages sometimes as well. So it's really interesting to observe yourself with different languages and how you change as well the way with the different languages, even with the dressing, the way you dress. Like, for example, in the Middle East, you can dress yourself, especially it's in Beirut, much more fancy and extravagant, and much more than in Berlin or London, which is more understatement and more like not so much the fashion world. So even by traveling to different places, it's interesting how you can play around with yourself, not only with the languages and the way you feel, but also the way you dress. And this, I mean, your podcasts are a lot about art and creativity. And for me, sometimes I see myself as a human being, as an art object, like my body as well. Like I can wear different, and I'm having different earrings and the clothes I'm wearing. And I also like to play with clothes, and I use clothes a lot to express my personality and even my emotional state. And then, of course, I love it to be in different cultures, to see how people dress there, and then bring my clothes in and mix it a little bit and play around. So traveling is also a very interesting place, or a way or opportunity to play on you and to learn and to use yours to implement yourself as an object of art.
I can just see. I forgot I have 3 earrings on each side. You also have. I saw sometimes on some of the pictures that you have really nice watches and rings and.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, and this also changes. Like now on my left ear, I have 3 rings, and on the right side 1. And this is new. Before that, for 2 years or 3 years, I only had 1 and 1. And a couple of days ago, I was like, okay, I just felt it, and then I put it on the other 2. On the other hand, as you can see right now, I don't wear rings. So this is like, as I said, this is part of this game of the expression. So sometimes it's like this and that. And I see you have a nice crystal there. Yes, wow. Actually, it has a nice color, a nice aura, and there is something inside, no?
Yes, my sister sent it for Christmas. It has actually, I don't know if you can see that. It has a bronze or other ring inside. It's a black stone, which apparently Napoleon used when they went to Moscow to clean the water and make sure that the energy for his soldiers is good. So it's kind of like a cleaning stone.
This definitely the talisman. It has a different, or what you're wearing has a very strong and good energy.
Oh, thank you. I sometimes can feel it. Yeah, I mean, we before we started, I explained a bit to Martin where I come from, but I've always been interested in stones. But let's not go there now. We probably can come back. We can have a whole day discussion here, I'm sure, because I have so many questions and I can see you're going with them. And I love this way that you talk about, being in a different place, be dressed different, talk different, feel different. A lot in the spiritual world or the mystical world, we talk about love and beyond, the frequencies, like Jesus and these people had a very, very high frequency. Now, when you say you can play with your emotions and your body as an art piece, when you have a low frequency, are you then going and dress yourself different to get a different emotion, or what will you do?
Well, I would not necessarily say low frequency, probably different emotions. I think, yes, I mean, it's not necessarily with low and high energies. I think it's more about emotions and perception. For example, black for me is a color which protects me. So if I'm going somewhere and I feel that there are a lot of people and I feel a little bit weak, or I'm a little bit stressed out, or a little bit worried, or a little bit sad, whatever, I dress black. Or if I know that I meet people who are very powerful and who can be very, like, even energetically impulsive, I dress black to protect myself better. Now, on the other hand, I also like the color black. I like to be dressed not only because of that, but I also like the simplicity of black. So I sometimes also use black just because I like it and for aesthetic point of view. And then on the other side, I also have colorful clothes, because sometimes one morning I might get up, and then I go to my closet and I open it and I just look on the colors I have and I pick this and that and I put it together, and then it's completely colorful. So, and the same with the rings or the jewelries. Sometimes I do it by purpose, as I said, because, for example, I know, okay, now I need to protect myself, so I put black, or now it's sunny, I put light clothes. Or sometimes I don't go with the emotions, but I go with the visual fitting, and I stand in front of the closet and I see, wow, okay, let's put this. Didn't wear it for a long time, and which colors or which pants are nice with that, and then I put this, and this or that rings. And so there are different ways of how I play it now. I definitely don't agree. You talked about spiritual people and spirituality and spiritual understanding. I don't agree at all on the idea many people have, especially in spiritual circles, when they think white or light colors are positive and black is negative. This is not my experience, and I don't see it at all like that. I understand that these are some concepts, intellectual, rational, mental concept, but it's actually energetically spoken completely wrong, because there is nothing bad or positive about white or black and vice versa. Each colors they can reflect both sides. Black can be negative or positive, and white can be negative or positive. So it's mainly the perception you have regarding a color. If you think white is good and black is negative, then it becomes that energy.
And you just gave me a very good introduction in the another question I really love. It's the color box. There's like a color box. What color would you be as the new adding to the color, and why? And I had really strange answers, which is cool. Like one is banana and the other one is glitter, or adjusting depending on what you write on. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious what you would say here.
Well, my answer might be very simple now. I hope your expectation wasn't too high. But green. Why green? Because I love nature. So when I feel weak or sad, my best medicine is to go out in nature, is to walk on the grass, is to walk through the forest, is to look at the mountains and the trees and the forests. And nature, flowers and plants, to me, is the best medicine. So this on one side. On the other side, I see, you said, as you said, right, I'm a psychic, seer, clairvoyant. So my specialty is reading auras, and the auras are an energy field in and around the physical body, which are like the aura is like a photography of the soul. So the aura consists of colors, symbols, images, which can be like fixed images like pictures, or moving images like films. And each color and symbol and picture has a meaning. So green, for example, which is in the aura, for me means creativity and healing. So for me, green is really this colors, which is to me very inspiring. At the same time, it's creativity. At the same time, it's healing. So this is for me a very neutral color. At the same time, a very inspiring and positive color.
No, but that's above my expectation, what you just shared.
Because you gave the example of banana and like this glycerin, so I was like, okay, green is so simple compared to banana.
No, but it's also just to help people to say, not to be blocked, right?
Okay.
Right, because many people get blocked with answering the right way, and by that I try to, of course, help out and say, go with your feeling. Now, you said reading auras, and I did Jeffrey Allen duality class, where one of the days, it's a 30-day or 45-day, I don't remember, he looks and says, look at your aura and the pictures which block your view of how reality is, because of your experiences you will have like a filter, and how to clean that. And it was very interesting to hear you talking about the aura being, with the colors and the pictures in the moving frames. How is it if someone is blocked, and I know I'm blocked at the moment, so I have to remove a lot of things. So as a person which listens and says, I have the feeling I'm stuck and I always see the same, is there anything a person can do to actually remove faulty images to be able to be open for the future?
Yes. I mean, our aura is an energy body, and this energy body is moving through time and space like the physical body. At the same time, in the aura, we have energy spots such like the chakras. There are 7 main chakras. And if certain aspects in your aura or in your chakras are blocked, you can obviously release the blockages with meditation and internal spiritual or psychological emotional work. Let's say you feel that, for example, your intuition is blocked. That in this case would mean that the third eye is blocked. So what you could do in that sense is meditate, visualize the third eye, sending energies to the third eye, and by that opening it and bring it to motion. Or you go to someone who helps you to read you, or who does energy work on you. There are many tools to work on that. The same with the aura. If certain energies or spots in your aura are blocked, you can cleanse them, the blockages, with meditations, with aura cleansings. When I'm talking about the aura and chakras, I'm using also the term spiritual anatomy. We have physical anatomy with the physical body, the organs, there are the bones, like everything what makes us as human beings, physical body as an instrument, is can be explained with the anatomy, and of course also how which organ works. So the same with the spiritual anatomy, the aura and the chakras, and then you have the meridians. So within the energy field of the aura, you also have a whole system which works and functions together. And if you understand that, there are certain techniques to unblock, to open, to cleanse, to release. And if you do that, of course, you distress, you activate your aura, your chakras. I want to give a very simple experience. Let's say you had an accident and you broke your left arm. What you do is you heal slowly your left arm. Obviously, by not using your left arm, your muscles get smaller again. So when you're able to use your but your left arm again, you start to do physical exercises in the gym, so your muscles become stronger. The same with your aura and your chakras. Let's say due to some trauma or blockages, your third eye is getting blocked. This would be the accident. You realize this, you start to meditate, you start to work a little bit about your third eye, you read about it so you know how it works, what it does, and then you're doing exercises in the same way you do physical exercises to strengthen the muscles on your left arm. There are meditations to strengthen your chakras. In the case of now, the one we talk about now, it would be your third eye. So you read and learn about meditations to re-strengthen your third eye, to open it, to activate it. And as more you use it, as bigger it gets, as stronger it gets. It's like with the physical body. If you, after broken your arm, you start to do push-ups again, maybe at the beginning you are able to do 10 push-ups. And as more you do, as more you can do, as better you get, as stronger the muscle gets, and maybe after 2-3 months you're able to do 100 push-ups, 150. And the same is with the chakras. At the beginning it might be difficult to see something through your third eye, but as more you use it, as more you implement it, as more you trust in it, as more you exercise it, as more you see, as more you're able to use. In the same way you're working with your physical muscles.
Okay, that's very good. So you answered a lot of questions by sharing. So that means when you have a blockage somewhere, you continuously do that meditation or that belief. Are you having help if you're blocked somewhere, or are you doing everything yourself?
No. I'm. For example, my girlfriend, she does prana healing. And she is very powerful and very good. So she does work on me, of course. If there is something, her name, funny enough, is Martina. So I'm Martin, she's Martina. Easy to remember. I'm asked, when I feel that there is something, I'm asking her to see where she can feel that there is something weak in me, and then she sees that, she feels it as well, she sees it, and then she works on me to heal. And then I have, for example, a good friend of mine, she's an astrologer in New York. So with her, sometimes we did exchanges. I have a very good friend, his name is Bruno, he's a healer in Switzerland. From time to time, we read each other. I read his aura, he reads my energy field. So yes, obviously there are people who help me. It's the same like with a dentist. If you might be a very good dentist, but you cannot fix your own tooth. You need someone else. If you're a doctor and you need an operation, you might be a very good doctor, but if you need a heart operation, you need another doctor to do it for you. So the same is here. You can be very good to help others, but there are certain issues and certain topics and certain moments you need help from outside. Okay. And it's nice, obviously, to exchange and to have help from outside, from people you love and you like and you know you can trust in.
Yeah, I was more thinking also when you started explaining, I had a few coaches on the show, and many of them say, when you're a coach yourself, you have 1 or 2 or 3 other coaches to help you as well, because you always have blind spots, skills you do not have. So that's very, very nice to hear. If we go on, you have explained so many things, but I really would like to see if you have any fun fact or secret people do not know. I mean, most likely people do not know you which listen to that podcast. The ones which will go on your YouTube channel or they will know you already. But is there anything you're free to share?
That's a funny and good question. Well, let me think. Well, actually, this is something what not very. It has to do with my childhood and thoughts I sometimes have, and it has to do something with creativity and art as well, as this is something you cover a lot in your podcast as well. When I was a young boy, I powdered and painted tin soldiers. So I heated tin until it was liquid, and then I had this form to powder the soldiers, and then I painted them. And I did that for hours when I was a little boy. And then I, with help of shoe boxes and everything, I built whole surroundings to build up the battlefield or the road the soldiers walked on. And even now, from time to time, when I find myself in stressed mood and in traveling around and in always being busy and being worried about being an adult, I remember this me when I was sitting as this little boy for hours on the floor of my room in my parents' house, and playing there and painting and building these landscapes. And this is something I really think then, like, I think for myself, how nice would it be just to do a time travel to go back in this childhood when I was 5, 6, 7 years or 8 years, and I did this for hours and was not worried about anything.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely going into creativity, right? We are blocking
You
ourselves.
know what? Sorry, when I cut you, I just realized something very funny. I had some of the soldiers, they were French, and they had the uniform of Napoleon's great army, the big army, which with the one he went to Moscow, to Russia. So I even built this landscape, which should have been Russia, of the French army when they crossed to Moscow, when they tried to conquer Moscow. And you showed your crystal with the finger ring of Napoleon. So it's funny, there is some connection between that.
Yeah, okay. I was thinking that in my subconscious while you talked. But now you already started getting a bit into your story. I mean, how did you actually end up being able to, your story is like you found this airplane with the people which no one else could find in Bolivia, and that basically put you on the map. And you travel around the world helping dictators and police and other people to find lost people or help them for their strategy in the future. But when did you go that path? How did you realize? Did you, as a 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old, already see the soldiers, how they actually lived back then? And did you just recreate that, or?
Well, that's a good question. Maybe I did. I never had that thought, but maybe it was like that. Maybe I was there myself as one of those soldiers. Maybe I did some time traveling, astral traveling, and remembered unconsciously. Could be. For me at that time, it was pure fantasy. Who knows? Might have been more. But I mean, when I was a little boy, I saw sometimes colors around people, energies, auras. Okay. Not as strong as the young boy of the movie The Sixth Sense with Bruce Willis, but kind of similar. And when I was 20, I left Switzerland to learn Spanish in Ecuador. You mentioned you have been in Ecuador as well, so funny enough. I went to Ecuador to learn Spanish, and that's when I was like 21, when I started to really get back in track with my inner self. I started to have suddenly strong visions. I saw spirits, I saw dead people. I started to get in touch with my inner self. It's almost like my inner self called me and remembered me of what I came to do here on this planet Earth. It brought me back in touch with my inner talent, with my gift, with my vocation, with it, which is the power of the vision, the power of reading auras. And I went to India shortly after that for almost a year to learn in ashrams and monasteries about power of intuition, meditation, psychic abilities. And then back to South America, where I had 2 teachers, an Argentinian healer, a woman, and an American psychic, a channeler. With them, I worked for about 1.5 years or 2. And then I started to work independent. This was then mid-90s, getting to 99. I found the plane you talked about. This was a missing plane in Bolivia. It was lost for 4 people. It traveled from the south of Bolivia, Yacuiba, up to Santa Cruz, and then it disappeared in the middle of nowhere. And after 4 days, the plane has not been found. I got contacted by family members from one of the passengers. They brought me pictures from 2 or 3 of the missing passengers. It was a small Piper or Cessna, I don't remember, but it was a small with only 5 passengers. Through the picture, I saw that there was still an aura on the picture. So for me, this was a sign that they were still alive. Later on, a little bit later on, the owner of the plane, who was not on board, he rented the plane, he brought me a map. And on the map, intuitively, psychically, I spotted a location where I felt that the plane crashed. And the next morning, several military planes went there to see if it's true. And yes, they found it exactly where I said. And this was like big news in the TV newspapers of Bolivia, but of different newspapers in South America. Even CNN Spanish version talked about it, and it was also in a German magazine. They wrote about it, and years later I spoke with pilots. They told me that they knew about me because in their club, like private aviation club, people talked about me as this Swiss psychic who found the plane in the middle of nowhere in Bolivia. This was a big breakthrough, 99. And the second big breakthrough was 2003 and 2005, when I predicted 2 coup d'etats, revolutions in Bolivia, which was also, I predicted them in the news before they happened in TV. And this, of course, was another big hammer again. It brought me out there to international media. And then I got called by diplomats, by military, by private security companies, by governmental security companies, by big corporations, by politicians who hired me for campaigns, political campaigns, or to analyze political outcomes, and journalists. And since the Bolivia coup d'etat, my main focus became politics. And since then, I have been working on all major conflicts which happened since then. And this is also why I lived 6 years in the Middle East. I covered a lot about the Arab Spring and got involved in many political elections and strategy analyzing. And I guess the destiny brought me in that direction, but I also was always, since I told before about this little hobby I had as a child, I was always interested in politics and strategies. And when I was a little boy, I also read all of Plato, the Trojan Wars, and about Roman history and Napoleon and the Middle Ages. So I was always interested in politics and in different cultures and in different times.
Wow, yeah. Is there any work you would not take? I mean, when you talk about political work, for me, now I'm not really interested in politics, but somehow yes. You cannot avoid it. But isn't there some work where you say, no, this I will not do, or no, I cannot read here, or?
You know, in general, politics is a very sensitive level. Of course, it's not the only. I'm not only working with politicians. I have a lot of private clients as well, from families to housewives to small business owners. So it's not only. I'm not only working in this high-level political field, but it's always very delicate. And yes, of course, I'm analyzing carefully the clients before I'm accepting. I learned in those 20 years, first, you cannot blame anybody by reading newspapers. So only because in German or Middle European newspaper a politician is seen as bad, it doesn't mean that he really is, because what people in Europe read and they think is reality is quite often very far away. But yes, of course, I have clients, cases, I don't take it. For me, I always need a personal contact online first before I accept anything. And then I talk with the person, I see his or her intentions, I feel them as well, of course, I see their auras. And if I see and feel that something is not kosher, is not good, then I don't take it.
Okay, and I loved what you said. That's what 2020 definitely was, and an eye opener. I knew that from before. That, as you said, because we hear German, Swiss, whatever European news about someone, doesn't mean that's the way it is. And I had a lot of discussions with friends. They just slammed me on the wall because I said, "Do you really know that this is true? What you read?" I just, something in me tells me this is not the truth, and I cannot pinpoint it. We also said I'm just learning. I'm 43 soon, so I'm not 21 as you were when my soul is waiting. And I had Deborah King telling me, like, yeah, some souls are just waiting long. You're like a late runner. She didn't know how old I am, so I'm still learning a lot. But sometimes I just have this feeling that, you know. So thank you for highlighting that one as well. So, but let's go into the creativity, because we started with your book, the intuition strategy. So when we go in creativity and innovation, what kind of definition do you have as a psychic?
Well, for me, creativity is everything you bring out from within yourself. So the definition for me is very simple. It's bring out from what you have within yourself, and this is creativity. It can be something very new, a completely new innovation. It can be copying something, but any way of action is creativity.
So that's really nice. Creativity is from within you, whatever you bring forth. Let's see. You said you have your powers. You said your power was visualization and aura. Do you have any creative powers in you?
Yes. I mean, I'm writing books. I wrote 9 books already. Some of them were bestsellers. To write, you need to be creative. I did documentaries, movie documentaries. One can be seen on the internet, on YouTube. It's called Ayahuasca Journey to the Soul. So I traveled with cameras in the jungle. I did a documentary which was even in some cinemas in Switzerland about ayahuasca. We were also traveling in the jungle of Ecuador and Bolivia. So I mean, doing scripts for documentaries needs creativity. And so yes, I would say I am creative. I like cooking. Cooking is also creative. I consider myself creative, and I think what I'm doing could not be possible without creativity. And also when I invent new topics for my seminars, it's creative, for the lectures. So yes, I consider myself creative.
Okay, that your powers are basically writing a book. It's not. What are your books? 9 books you have. Are they stories or are they teaching books? Or
yes, there are. They're all related to my travelings, like travel experiences, plus related to my work, like about the power of intuition, like the one you mentioned, Strategic Intuition, is actually not published yet, but it's a book I'm writing with a doctor. His name is Dr. Thomas Zweifel. And we write a book about how to integrate intuition in strategic thinking. But other books I wrote are about meditations, techniques to develop the intuition to, but also one is called When Evil Calls. It's a book in which I studied the power of black magic in South American countries, why they do it, how you can protect yourself. So very often they're also social and culturally related to the places where I live and work, or, as I said, with techniques and theories of what I'm doing.
Okay, so it is kind of like storytelling combined with teachings.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So also the people can then, I will add everything to the show notes at the end.
Yes,
So
thank
people
you very much.
can, of course, go and download it. Me included. I have to see how I'll do it. If it's, are the books with graphics or is it text mainly?
Some are with graphics, others are with only texts. And in English, I have only one book. It can be found on so far published on Amazon. Also on my website, if you go on my website, www.martinzoller.com, and then on the shop, there is a book, Journey of a Spiritual Traveler. This is in English actually and in French, but all the other books are in German.
Okay, so you only write German, you didn't translate.
Yes.
Okay, I just asked because for Advent, I ask people about books they read and how they read. And, you know, some people use the Kindle only, others are using physical books only. Other people are reading on the computer screen.
My books are published as ebooks and physical. They can be received on both ways.
Yeah, it's also just to know if there's a lot of graphics, perhaps it's better to have like a paperback.
Yes. No, most of it's text.
Okay, yeah, super. So going back to the creativity and your future book, Intuition, where does intuition come from?
Intuition is let's say, intuition is the tool which connects you to your higher self. So your intuition is connecting yourself with your higher self, and at the same time, it's your intuition sending you signs or informations from universe or from the higher self. So intuition is basically a tool you have within yourself to get to information from within yourself or from outside.
Okay. Are you using the intuition for creativity purposes? Or
yes, I'm using very often my intuition to get inspiration for next creative steps.
Okay. And how can you, now I normally ask my guests about creativity, innovation, how, if there's any method, routine, habits to actually get into, let's start with the creative. If you have any habits or routines, methods to get into a creative state or to help being more creative?
Well, first, when I see and feel that there is a new creative project coming up, I plant it in my mind, like as a thought. Let's say I want to do a new video. So I think about the script, the idea, and the concept, and this I have in my mind. Now, it takes normally time to bring it out. Sometimes 2-3 days. I cannot force myself to become expressive with my creative visions or ideas. And I don't put myself under pressures as well. I know that it sometimes needs 1 day, 2 days, sometimes 3-4 days until I receive the go. So first I plant the creative idea in my heart, in my brain, through my intuitive insights, through my intuitive inspirations, and then I think creative to see how to put it in practice. And then very, very carefully, I wait until I get the intuitive yes or green light to start.
Okay. So yeah, so you work in your mind.
Yes.
And so that's like the upper chakras. And when you go through the heart down, so the heart, the intuition, when you get the green light, your favorite color,
yeah.
you start getting into the red zone where you are more physical and you start creating.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So you can say, first I receive an intuitive insight about the creative project. I plant this intuitive insight in my heart and in my brain as thoughts. And then I think and analyze how I could do it where I could do it. I observe how the thoughts are building up the concept. And at one point, I feel that I now know exactly what I want to do and how I want to do it and where. And then I still wait until I feel, okay, now the right moment came to do it. Because in my experience, if I try to do it too early, sometimes I go out and it starts raining. And then I know this was the wrong moment. On the other hand, if I do it intuitively, my intuition wouldn't send me out to film it when it's raining because it doesn't make sense. The light is not there and the surrounding doesn't work. So I always work intuitively to see when to do what to make it happen and to manifest it. There is a moment for everything. There is a moment for receiving an intuitive insight, there is a moment to think about it, there is a moment to start to build it, and there is a moment to become active.
Wow, yeah, that's super good information here, because I for the last weeks, and I knew that from all these different YouTube channels and channelers, and also from you, the energies were very low and just stay put. And I was hitting myself mentally so many times and getting so frustrated and angry because I couldn't finish the last podcast. I uploaded it only yesterday, even though I interviewed in December, but I did not have the energy. I simply could not get myself doing it. But then you get so frustrated. On the other hand, I can see you have mastered that patience, as you say. That's one of your adaptable skills you have, to wait for the green light when the intuition says go.
Exactly.
So yeah, I guess many people had that the last weeks or 2 months where it simply doesn't work, right? Sometimes that's how it is. And how is it now you explained the creativity, and how is the intuition? How can you practice that? How can you learn to be more intuitive?
Meditations are a very good tool to get in touch with your intuition. To learn about the chakras is very good to learn about the intuition, because if you learn where your chakras are and how they work, you can also learn how to work with them and how to build them up. I would say meditation is the best. Meditation is the best to really develop your intuition. And then a very good daily activity is really listen to this little voice you have inside of yourself, which gives you insights and inspirations, and starting consciously to listen to it and to act with it, and by that learning how it works.
Okay, by that, again, train the muscle to get stronger, so the voice gets stronger.
Exactly. Then we go back to that example, yes.
Yeah. And I've been reading Eckhart Tolle, and he also says, or was it Eckhart Tolle? I do not remember, that the inner voice is very, very weak in the beginning, and your mind is very strong. It's like a megaphone against, I don't know, little bird talking. Is that your experience as well?
That's exactly the same we talked about, what I just said now with other words, but that's exactly my experience as well, yes.
And the biggest obstacle for people to become intuitive, what is it in your experience?
Not to trust in themselves and to be too impatient.
Okay, so it's a long process.
Yes, it's a long process. It's like learning a new language. To learn a new language, it takes a lot of time.
Okay, yeah, I can see that. And for creativity, what is the biggest obstacle you see there?
I would say that the mind. The mind is a killer for your intuition, because if you have intuitive insight and your mind is always doubting and questioning, it blocks your intuition.
Which then blocks the creativity.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, super. Now we have covered all that. It's awesome. For your book, you said it's coming out. I remember you had a Kickstarter project for it or something a long time ago.
Yes, we did a seminar with Dr. Zweifel in Zurich, a lecture, and we did a Kickstart where people could send us questions. The book should have been published last year, but due to Corona and everything what happened, and shift of certain focus of Dr. Zweifel's and mine, we postponed a little bit and we gave ourselves more time. We are not in a hurry. We're not in a rush. We do it intuitively, and this sometimes takes more time than you think it will.
So do you have the outline of the book so people get like impatience to wait for until it's out?
Yes. The book is basically because Dr. Zweifel is coming from a very a scientific, economical background. He was teaching at Columbia University. He has very, very high profiling clients. Who is interested about what he's doing, just go on his website or follow his LinkedIn. So he's coming from a very strategic direction, but he is very intuitive as well. I'm coming from a more intuitive side, but I'm also working through my work with politicians and high profiling businessmen. I'm working a lot with strategies as well. So we realize that we are coming from two different directions, but somehow that there is a lot of common ground. And we realize that there is not really a lot of, or almost no literature which covers this field, like what is intuition, where is it coming from, what is strategy, and where is it coming from, and how to bring those two aspects together to create successful and positive outcomes.
How will it be written, as Mr. Zweifel is more scientific? I know the scientific literature can be very hard to read.
No, it will not be hard at all, because we write it together, and he has a very, very good way to write. When I say scientific, I mean more like from an economical scientific. So like very good context, written language, and but we write it together. So it will be easy to be read, because he writes very good, he writes very nicely, and he writes very interesting.
Okay, so it will be similar to your former books.
It will be different, because I write it with him, so it will be different. It's like if you're a fashion designer and you have your own label, and then you make a new line of fashion with a different fashion designer, it will be something completely new.
I meant more from the point of examples and practical lessons learned, or
no, there will also be a lot of, we call it labs, like laboratories. There will be a lot of lab techniques, so techniques the reader can do himself or herself to develop strategic intuition. So it will be also a practical book, not only a theoretical. There will be techniques we are sharing with the readers to develop their own intuition and to become more comfortable with strategic thinking.
Okay, and this is the way I hear it. It's for everyone who wants.
Yes, we really write it in a way it's for everybody.
Okay, anyone who wants to be more intuitive and strategic. Okay.
Yes.
So it's not for this high client, business manager, whatever you are.
No, we specially write it so it reaches a big audience.
Awesome. Yes. So, advice. Do you remember a really good advice that you took, or you wished you would have taken it earlier?
Well, I think a very good advice is like really follow your inner self, trust in what you do. Of course, when I look backwards, yes, there were situations I think it would have been better if I would have listened and acted more straightforward and not doubted too long or too much, and not observing so long before acting, and being more, sometimes a little bit more adventurous, and just do when I feel the right moment is there. But in my opinion, everything helps and is a learning process, and we are humans, so we do mistakes. Important is that we don't repeat them. But I think a good advice would really be listen to your inner self carefully and build a good balance between rational thinking and intuitive action. And then I think you have quite a good mix between those both as two aspects.
Beautiful. Yeah. Do you have any daily routines, actually?
I do my daily meditations when I wake up in the morning. I try to be out in nature every day. I try to do some kind of sport every second day. So yes, there is some routine, like the meditation, like the being in nature, the eating healthy, trying to get enough sleep.
Yeah, and these things you can do while traveling around the world as well, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, let's close down. And before we close the show, do you have any call to action for the listeners, what they could do? I mean, there's a lot of little bits and pieces you already mentioned.
Well, I would like to inspire you to really meditate every day. Meditation is the best tool to connect to your inner self. Meditation doesn't only mean to sit down, close your eyes, and listen some nice chants, but meditation means also to do everything you do always very consciously. Like when you go out in the forests, walk in the forest and enjoy the nature. Don't take your tablet or phone with you and make one call after the other and answer all your unanswered WhatsApp messages. Do whatever you do in the moment. When you cook, really focus on the food you cook, you cut. When you walk, focus on the walk. When you do sports, focus on the sport, focus on your muscle. Many people, when they do gym, they just watch on the TV. They get distracted. They don't listen to their body. When you do sport and you focus on yourself, you start to listen your body as well, and then you know much more what you really do. So it's mainly about really do consciously what you do in each and every moment.
Yeah, I can see that being locked away from the gym for 2 months now definitely has removed some meditation for me.
Yes, no, this is very important.
Yeah, for me, I realize now, especially through 2020, 2019, that working out hard was kind of a meditation for me, because I love to lift very heavy, and you cannot watch TV when you do that. You really have to focus on all the muscles. And for me, it was normal to go inside and feel all the different movements.
Yeah. But this is the meditation of it. Yes, very good, Oliver.
Yeah. So, but now I tried the pranayama.
Also very good, yes.
But that's the monkey mind. That it's hard. So we also talked a lot about books you write and books you were reading as a kid. Are there any books you would recommend for anyone? It could also be several books. It could also be like a series or whatever it is. To round up.
Well, of course, I would recommend my own books for those who speak German and read German, because they're all very helpful and very interesting. And then I like inspiring books. I don't have it. I guess it also depends a lot on the moment we are living in. For example, now with the whole Corona issue and its influence, I think for now to read, for example, Aldous Huxley's Brave New World or George Orwell's 84 are two very inspiring and interesting books to see a little bit where we might head to. And I like to read books, inspiring books, quite often related to traveling to different countries, especially now, for example, with the lockdown. I buy books of authors I might not have known before, but who are from different countries, just to at least get a little bit the smell and the taste from different cultures through books. So for me, books are a very strong reflection of what's going on within me and around me. And this is also changing from moment to moment. And it's hard to give names and say this or that.
Yeah.
I have a very easy and still a very powerful technique to get good books. What I sometimes do is I go in a bookstore, I just walk around, I look at the covers, and suddenly I feel a book jumping on me, or from far I see a book and I know this book might have been an interesting content for me. I go to the book, I read what it is about, and wow, this is exactly what I was looking for. So sometimes we can even go to a bookstore intuitively, walk around, let ourselves guide, and then the book is finding you.
Yeah, I've heard these stories, books falling on the head, literally.
For example.
So I do remember my time in Basel with the different bigger bookstores. Do not remember the names now. We had this issue before that we do not remember. Just going and strolling through, and then
Exactly.
I mean, that's how I was reading the Game of Thrones before it was a big movie. No one wanted to read it, and then it came on HBO. Everyone told me to watch it.
Very good.
Yes. One question popped up because you mentioned traveling books from different countries to feel and smell now that you cannot travel. And you mentioned astro travel before. Are you able to visit other places around the planet energetically at the moment just to get a feel because you cannot travel as usual?
Yes, of course. There is a technique called remote viewing. You might have heard about it. And this is a technique I'm working with. And remote viewing is a technique which was developed by the American counterintelligence of the Army and Stanford University in California. And this technique was basically developed for intuitive psychic espionage. And I'm working with this technique myself, sometimes for clients, and sometimes also, like now that I'm not able to travel so much, I'm visiting places like, for example, Machu Picchu, or traveling psychically, intuitively to Paris, just to get an idea of the smell, of the taste, of the energy, of the vibration, of the soul of Paris, and by that at least to breathe a little bit the big world.
Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah, astro travel was the one I heard other people do.
Yeah, it's similar. Astral traveling and remote viewing is quite similar.
Yeah, and I try at the moment lucid dreaming, so I don't know how much that goes into the same realm.
It's not exactly the same, but it's a similar direction. Yes.
Yeah, so that's beautiful. So you at least are not completely locked down.
No.
And you can still visit places. So you can tell me how our garden looks when you want to.
I smell the flowers.
No, actually, there are no flowers at the moment. It's frozen. We have, unfortunately, no snow because it's so cold, but it's nice. The kids love it. We have a little bit of snow from the day when it snowed for 1 hour, and that's beautiful. But thank you, Martin, so much. I mean, I have so many more questions I could ask, but I want to be respectful of the time, also for the listeners. And I'm looking forward to have other talks and perhaps meet in Rheinach hotel one of the days.
Yes, who knows? So yes, then I'm sending you. Then you might do some astral traveling here to visit me, because I'm on Ibiza and we have flowers. So if at some point it's getting too cold for you and too gray, and you would like to have some flowers and some nice weather, I'm inviting you to do some remote viewing or astral traveling to come to visit us here.
I'm working on it. I practice. It actually this lucid dreaming causes me to have a little bit more disturbed sleep. I do not remember much more, but it's a little bit chaotic in my head at the moment. And yeah, before I forget that, how can people reach you? You mentioned your webpage before, and
yes, please feel free to go on my website, www.martinzoller, Martin, Martin, Zoller, Zoller, altogether.com, or on my YouTube channel, and of course also on my Facebook, on Instagram. My website is English and German. On my YouTube channel, you find videos in English, French, Spanish, and German. So all different languages, whatever you need is there. Yeah, thank you, Oliver, for inviting me on your show. I'm wishing you and your family all the best. And of course, everybody in the audience as well. I wish you a good time. Please stay healthy, stay positive. Don't lose faith and hope. And I guess especially in times like those, meditating and if possible being in nature is one of the best medicines to really stay connected with yourself.
Awesome. I will do the same. See you then. And people, don't forget to subscribe and like this show, and go and check out Martin's own content. There's a lot to listen and read about. With that, see you next time.